Hey guys, it's Lisa. Welcome to Banning, Panning and Beyond and the next installment of the monthly brand pick collab that I'm doing with Lauren. So the idea of this collab is that we choose a brand we both have in our collections. We don't necessarily both have lots of the brands that we choose. It's just something that basically we both want to use, and we base it on whether or not we have palettes, eyeshadow palettes from that brand that we can use. We don't necessarily have to have the same eyeshadow palette, but it is preferable if we can. So this month we chose Natasha Denona, and we were going to use the cranberry palette, I believe, but Lauren unfortunately couldn't find hers, so she said, well, that she had the Peak palette, and I am super duper lucky because it's not something I can get hold of here, and it was actually gifted to me by Mary from Mary Catherine Loves Cats. So she didn't say that, like, it wasn't really her colors, but they're definitely mine. So that is the palette there. Now I have only swatched it this morning. I've never used it before. I'm not familiar with the formula. I'm not even sure if I'm going to have the right brushes to use it. So let's just give it a swatch and see. So the first shade feels very creamy. So that's just, yeah. And perhaps I swatched it a little bit too hard because some of it's actually come off. All right, so then we have the next shade. Feels very creamy as well, so I'm guessing these are all cream to matte, so you can see why I liked the colors in this palette. The next one doesn't feel quite so creamy, but still a little bit, not as much as the other two. So you've got your brown, and this one definitely feels creamy. So there was no rules set to use this palette, how many shades we had to use or anything like that. So that's the shades that I am working with. Now I have used some of the Natasha Denona products that I have in my collection for my complexion products today. So I'll at the end, after I've done the look, I'm going to showcase the products from the brand that I actually do own. And yeah, and you can let me know if you have any of those products in your collection and what you think of them. Unfortunately, it is a brand that I have neglected to use, and I need to definitely dip into it more than what I have. So that this is a great opportunity for that. So I'm going to quickly speed through the footage of me doing the look. Like I said, I don't know whether I've got the right brushes for this particular formula, so we'll just see how it turns out, and then I'll be back with the finished look. Okay guys, here's the finished look. So I quite like the eye look. They're definitely my colors. It's not sort of in your face. So yeah, for me, it is a nice sort of neutral or everyday sort of type look. I know not everybody would call this neutral, but as far as the performance of the shadows, to me they perform just like any normal powder shadow. There was a bit of kick up in the pan, but I just tapped my brush on my hand to get the excess off. I had no fallout on my face whatsoever. So I decided to use the one and only lip liner that I own by Natasha Denona. So that's it there, and I've got it on my hand right there. So the lippy that I use, so these I've got 3 of these. They're called, it says mark your liquid lips, metallic liquid lipstick. So I tend to shy away from metallic lipsticks as I've gotten older, but yeah, so I ended up choosing this one only because it's probably the closest and would go the best with the lip liner that I had. Very sort of monochromatic. For me, I probably would have gone with this darker one, but like I said, just wasn't going to go with the lip liner real well, and obviously this was not going to be a good choice. So those are the 3 metallic liquid lipsticks that I own from Natasha Denona, and the lip liner. So that's it for those. Now I'm just going to try and see. I'm not going to have much success getting those off, but anyway, I don't really have an intention of swatching too much for you because I don't want this video to go on too long. But I tell you, these 2 items here, I was so tempted to put one of them on my eyelids, but I didn't want it to take away from the palette that I was using. So they're her what's that called? They're her, what are they called? Chromium liquid eyeshadow. So I only have the 2. They're all so beautiful. I would have loved to have had all of them, but they're very expensive. So I have Dragonfly and I have Ultraviolet. So I will swatch those for you. They're so pretty. I don't know if the ring light is going to be able to pick up on them. So this is Dragonfly. Oh yeah, so you've got, it looks pink there, and you can see how it goes to copper as I turn my hand. And this one is Ultraviolet. I think I've showed them in one of my haul videos in the past. So it's got more of a purplish color there, and as it turns you'll see it's going more green. So yeah, you can see it changing there. So they are really pretty. It's funny how they're so similar when you look at them that way. So let's get into the rest of my collection, and I'm just going to show them to you quickly. So as you all know, I'm an eyeshadow lover. I cannot help myself, and since I've gone back to work last December, I don't get as much of an opportunity to play with my makeup as much as I would like to. So some of these are actually, there's 2 items that I'm going to show you today that were actually put aside for one of my haul videos, but because they belong to this brand, I decided to pull them out and show them to you in this one. So I'll start off with the mini eyeshadow palettes. So we've got the mini retro. I wonder if I turn my ring light off. It's not super fabulous lighting, but let's just pop it back on, shall we? You'll have to just forgive the reflection that you're going to get. So I've got the mini retro, then I have the mini star palette. Absolutely love this one, the mini sunset. And another one that I really had to get was the mini gold. I love the sort of grungy shades in that one. We have the mini love, and that's it for the minis. So as far as the normal size 5 pans, so we had the peak one, of course, that I was gifted to by Mary, the cranberry palette that we were going to use, but hopefully Lauren actually finds hers. And then we have the camel palette, and we have the coral palette. So that's it for my 5 pans. So I will get to the complexion products in a minute. So as far as MIDI eyeshadow palettes, I have a fair few of these ones. So we've got the Love palette. I also have a single, I believe it is, I think it's this shade here, Passion, that my friend Siobhan sent to me. I think she got it as a sample and she sent it to me and I really liked it. So I decided to actually buy the palette. So that's that one there. The new one that she's released that is similar to this but more a cool tone variety, I think I'm actually going to skip that one. We have the Glam palette. So that's the outside there. You can see the fingerprints on these, like terrible, but they wipe off quite easily. So this is very much a cool toned palette, and I don't tend to do a lot of cool toned looks just because of my colorings, but that is such a pretty palette. And I'd seen Naomi from Beauty Dreams by Naomi using it, and I really loved it. So I'm hoping to play with that more and get more comfortable with those cool tones. Then of course we have the bronze palette. So you can see my ring light there. And that's the shades inside there. This is the latest addition to my collection. So we have the Zendo palette, and that is really pretty too. It's got a bit more color to it than some of her other palettes. And then we have the Sunrise palette. Love the packaging on this one, the coloring, and that's it there. So more sort of warm tones in that one. That is such a fun palette to play with. And then as far as my large palettes, don't have quite as many as the middies, but I do have the Sunset palette, and I've used this a fair bit, as you can see by the marks on that. This is one of the older ones that I've had in my collection. The gold palette, so that's another one that I have dipped into a few times. We have the Bieber palette. So I tossed up between this and the Safari palette, but because it was more, the Safari palette was probably more towards the greys, I decided to go with the Bieber one. It's an all neutral palette, and yeah, I have used this a couple of times as well. And then this one I have not touched yet, so it's the Trio Chrome palette, and it is absolutely brand spanking new. I haven't touched that yet, so I'm curious to see what her multichrome shades like in this one perform like. So that's it as far as eyeshadow palettes. Then I have the Blush and Glow palette. So that's it there. It's the Bloom Blush and Glow palette. So I've had this for quite a while. I love the shades in that, and particularly this blush here. If you go in fairly light-handed, it's actually a really nice color. So this is one of the products I use today as part of my collection, complexion products, and it's the first time that I've used it. So the Tan Bronze and Glow palette. So I ended up, weirdly enough, using the glow cream base here, which looks very light, but when I put it on, that's actually what I ended up using as a bronzer. So yeah, go figure. And then I ended up tapping this shade on over the top as a highlighter. So I'm still getting used to wearing or using cream products. They're probably not my favorite. As Nona likes to say, it's user error. So it's something that, yeah, I have to sort of work with more. And definitely because they are a higher end brand, they're not cheap, and the cream products don't last as long as powder. I really should be using these more before they go off, but it's something I have to make a conscious effort with. Now the last two things that I have, I've got the diamond and blush palette, so they both look the same on the outside, but yeah, so that's it on the inside there. I have used this a couple of times, and the other one that I own, that one was the, I think it's the, what's it called, Citrus, and this one is called Daria. So that's it there. So that's it, guys. That is the full extent of the Natasha Denona products in my collection. So curious to see what look Lauren makes, considering it's only 5 pans, and yeah, we're both using the same palette, to see how much her placement varies from mine, or whether or not her look ends up very, very similar. I didn't end up doing an inner corner. Let's just dip into one of these palettes here. Actually, I might use that shade there, and just see how that performs. Probably should put some glitter glue, but yeah. That's showing up. So yeah, so that's it. Thanks for joining me. Make sure you go check out Lauren's channel. I will leave the link to her video in the description box. Let me know whether or not you were lucky enough to get this palette. I believe it was a BoxyCharm one, or Ipsy. I can't remember. But yeah, it was an exclusive, so I was so lucky to be gifted this. And yeah, with that, I'm gonna leave it there, and I'll see you all again next month. Bye.